Our ancestors slept under the stars for thousands of years. Every single night, the open sky was the only roof they had ever known. Today, almost none of us sleep beneath the stars anymore. We close our doors, turn off the lights, and forget what the night sky once meant. So, what changed? Did houses make us feel safer? Or did they slowly separate us from something our ancestors experienced every single night? To understand the answer, we have to travel back more than 300,000 years, to the very beginning of modern humans. Long before villages, before roads, before beds, and before walls, every night ended exactly the same way, beneath the endless sky. When darkness covered the land, people didn't run indoors. They gathered around a small fire, because fire was their safest place after sunset. The fire didn't just provide warmth, its light kept many dangerous animals at a distance, making the night a little less frightening. Nobody slept alone. Families stayed close together because every extra pair of eyes and ears increased the chance of surviving until sunrise. At night, every sound mattered. A snapping branch, distant footsteps, or the cry of an owl could mean the difference between safety and danger. For our ancestors, the night sky wasn't empty. It was the first ceiling humanity ever knew, and every star above them became part of daily life. Our ancestors didn't just sleep beneath the stars, they studied them. Night after night, the sky became their first classroom. Long before clocks existed, people watched the moon. Its changing shape quietly told them how many nights had already passed. The stars also became humanity's first map. Travelers remembered bright constellations and followed them across forests, rivers, and endless open land. Even the changing stars announced the seasons. Without calendars, our ancestors already knew when colder nights or warmer days were approaching. For thousands of generations, people looked up before they fell asleep, because the sky wasn't decoration, it was knowledge, memory, and survival written in light. Sleeping beneath the stars wasn't as dangerous as it sounds. Our ancestors understood nature far better than we often imagine today. Before choosing where to sleep, they carefully studied the land. They avoided dry riverbeds, unstable cliffs, and places where dangerous animals often traveled. They even paid attention to the wind. A simple change in its direction could carry the scent of rain, or warn them that predators were nearby. The forest spoke every night. Crickets, frogs, owls, and rustling leaves formed familiar sounds. When those sounds suddenly stopped, everyone became alert. Nature was constantly sending messages. Our ancestors survived because they noticed them. The real question is, when did we stop paying attention? For countless generations, sleeping beneath the stars was simply part of life. But slowly, something extraordinary began to change. Humans stopped wandering and started settling down. As people learned to grow crops and stay in one place, temporary camps slowly became permanent homes. The night itself began to change. Walls protected people from rain, cold winds, and wild animals. For the first time, many families could sleep without watching the darkness around them. Little by little, roofs replaced the stars. The ceiling above our heads became familiar, while the night sky slowly disappeared from everyday life. Building homes made life safer and more comfortable. But without realizing it, we also spent less time looking up, and more time looking inward. As villages became towns, and towns became cities, nights slowly grew brighter. Darkness, once a natural part of life, began to disappear. For the first time in human history, many children grew up without ever seeing a sky completely filled with stars. Today, millions of people live beneath skies so bright that they have never seen the Milky Way with their own eyes. Our ancestors didn't admire the stars because they were beautiful. They looked up because the sky helped them survive, travel, and understand the world around them. Maybe we didn't stop sleeping beneath the stars overnight. We simply moved farther away from them. One roof, one wall, and one light at a time. When our ancestors looked up, they didn't just see stars. They saw stories, directions, seasons, and a universe that reminded them they were part of something much bigger. Today, many of us fall asleep without ever seeing the night sky. A ceiling has quietly replaced something our ancestors watched every single evening. Maybe that's why the night feels different today. We still sleep, but we rarely pause long enough to experience the silence that once surrounded every human being. Nature never stopped speaking. The wind still blows, the stars still shine, The moon still follows its ancient path across the sky, exactly as it always has. Perhaps the greatest thing we lost wasn't sleeping beneath the stars. Perhaps it was remembering to look up and listen to what nature was quietly teaching us every night. Building homes was one of humanity's greatest achievements. Strong walls protected families from storms, freezing nights, and dangerous animals. Permanent homes also allowed people to store food, raise children more safely, and build stronger communities that could survive together. So moving indoors wasn't a mistake. It helped humanity grow, build civilizations, and create the world we know today. But every new invention changes something. As our homes became stronger, our daily connection with the open sky quietly became weaker. Progress gave us comfort, warmth, and safety, but perhaps it also made us spend less time noticing the quiet lessons waiting above us every night. Imagine spending just one night exactly the way your ancestors once did. No roof above you, only a small fire, and millions of stars stretching across the sky. After a while, something unusual happens. Your eyes adjust to the darkness, and you begin noticing details that daylight never reveals. You hear the wind moving through the trees, insects singing, and distant animals calling across the landscape. The night suddenly feels alive. This wasn't a special adventure for our ancestors. It was simply another ordinary night, repeated thousands of times across countless generations. Perhaps that's why the stars meant so much to them. They weren't something to visit once a year. They were part of everyday life. The stars haven't disappeared. The moon still rises. The wind still whispers through the trees. Nature is exactly where it has always been. Perhaps the biggest change wasn't in the world around us. Perhaps it happened inside us. We slowly stopped paying attention. Our ancestors didn't believe nature was separate from life. Every sunrise, every season, every star above them carried meaning because survival depended on understanding the world around them. Maybe that's the forgotten message our ancestors left behind. The more carefully they observed nature, the better they understood their place within it. Tonight, before you close your curtains, take one moment to look up. The same stars that guided your ancestors are still waiting above you. Across every continent, people looked at the same night sky. Yet somehow, every culture found different stories hidden among the very same stars. To some, the stars became hunters. To others, they became animals, heroes, or spirits watching from above. Long before books existed, the night sky became humanity's oldest library. Every generation passed its stories to the next beneath those same stars. Children learned the names of rivers, mountains, animals, and the stars above them long before they could ever read or write. Perhaps that was the greatest classroom humanity ever had, because every lesson came directly from nature itself. Even today, something strange happens when people leave the city. Many naturally stop, look up, and quietly admire the stars once again. Perhaps that's why camping still feels different. For a single night, we experience a small part of the world our ancestors knew every day. The stars haven't become more beautiful. We simply notice them more when everything else becomes quiet. Our ancestors never needed to search for nature. They lived inside it. Today, many of us travel great distances just to experience it for a weekend. Maybe that tells us something important. Nature never truly left us. We simply built our lives a little farther away from it. If our ancestors could visit us today, they would probably be amazed by our cities, our technology, and everything we've built together. But perhaps one thing would surprise them even more, that many of us rarely look at the stars they knew so well. The stars never asked us to return to the past. They simply continued shining, patiently waiting for someone to notice them again. Maybe progress and nature were never meant to compete with each other. Perhaps we simply forgot to make time for both. Perhaps the greatest lesson our ancestors left behind wasn't where they slept, but how closely they paid attention to the world around them every single day. For hundreds of thousands of years, every human being ended the day beneath the same sky. Kings, hunters, children, and families all fell asleep under the same stars. The sky above us has never forgotten humanity. Every night, it quietly returns, just as it always has. Perhaps we're simply too busy to notice. Maybe our ancestors were never trying to teach us to sleep outside forever. Maybe they were teaching us something much simpler. Never lose your connection with the world that keeps you alive. Tonight, before you go to sleep, step outside for just 1 minute, look up, you're looking at the very same stars that watched over your ancestors thousands of years ago. Our ancestors slept beneath the stars for thousands of years. We don't anymore, but perhaps, every time we choose to look up, we remember a small part of who we've always been.